Well, it does. I wish in Habitat I would have more my feet into chatting directly to the maker, which I can only do when I go on a trip, because there's always the barrier of the buyer who is doing the costing and all that. But when I was working at Indian Navy, I was really in charge of the projects all in all, from the beginning to the end. And then, technology there was really important.
Computer and all the digital tools are very essential. We actually usually start the other way around with the workshop. So most of maybe the current projects, I wouldn't say it's the formula yet, but the current projects, the first idea always comes from the workshop. For instance, the concrete one, we just really start one-to-one scale tests, experiments, just to understand tolerance, refinement, and maybe if there's a kind of innovation might come very small. And then very quickly I go to computer, and then a lot of refinement, geometry, optimization comes in, and then sometimes goes back to the one-to-one scale again. But I would say again, most of this research and a couple of this kind of semi-commercial projects really starts with the manufacturing. What are their tools? What are the capabilities? How can we actually tweak them in a different way? Because usually, again, in my experience, most of the small manufacturers I work with, they don't really push the tools that they have, or they haven't explored yet. Most of the software, the three-dimensional software, or rapid prototyping, or CNC software, they are actually now very available to students and academics as well. They're very fast compared to the 6-7 years ago. They were very slow. In terms of that, they're very actually kind of optimized, and they provide a good workflow. But again, maybe it's from the area that I work, we really keep the computer and the computational process in the kind of the second phase, kind of for the more refinement stage.
There's quite surprising places where you can find technology where you wouldn't think so, because I just come back from a trip to Spanish supplier, and the owner is really keen on moving on and getting new technology in. And I mean, for me in my head, because I'm aware of CNC cutting, CNC etching, or 3D printing, I'm aware of these technologies. But I always thought upholstery would be a place where it wouldn't really evolve this way, always quite crafty. But this guy managed to buy 2 meter by 2 meter 3D printer. He's doing his models and his one-to-one scale prints with he can change the material. I mean, I was actually quite thrilled, I must say. And now he's just invested in an injection molding arm, probably 6 lakhs, to just literally draw foam around a skeleton in a way. So I think there is a way to explore every territory with technology.
I've got a question for both of you, and that is, do you do any structural calculations on the work that you do prior to manufacture or during the iterative cycle as you're developing them, or is all the knowledge implicit?
I don't personally.
I'll give you an example again, maybe. When I was a student, we used to use, with the architectural background, we used to use this ANSYS and very basic structural tests to understand very specific issues on the weight and etc. I find it now, only having this very few test projects, some of them I think the simulations happens a bit better on the one-to-one scale physically. So rather than software analysis, some of these things actually have been made in very one-to-one kind of basic analysis in a very extreme situations. What would happen like that marble table if there's 80 kilograms weight in one of the corners? How would it behave? But again, because maybe they're very specific use furniture at the moment, we don't really test extreme conditions, but there are really basic understanding going on there. But I think I'm aware of a couple of my colleagues, they use very sophisticated analysis software tools, which I think they get the engineers involved as well in terms of before they go to full manufacture. But yeah, it's a very interesting area. But when I used to study, those softwares were really slow computational wise. I don't know how much it progressed. Like I remember we used to leave the computer for 3-4 days for a really basic structural test for a very basic surface, for instance. So it's a still very interesting area to be tested.